Hidden deep within the mountains of modern-day Romania, surrounded by dense forests and long stretches of silence, lie the remains of a city most people have never heard of. At first glance, it looks unremarkable. Scattered stones, broken walls, ruins slowly dissolving back into the earth. But appearances are deceptive, because this place was once the beating heart of an entire civilization. And what happened here was not simply conquest, it was erasure. Sarmizegetusa was not built on open land. It was not placed along trade routes, and it was certainly not meant to be easily reached. Instead, it was hidden. High in the Orăștie Mountains, at more than 1,000 meters above sea level, surrounded by steep slopes and thick forests, the city was deliberately isolated from the outside world. Reaching it required effort, knowledge of the terrain, and permission. This alone should make us pause. Capitals are usually visible, accessible, designed to project power. Sarmizegetusa was different. This was not a city meant to impress outsiders. It was a city built for those who already belonged. A center turned inward, not outward. And that tells us something important about the people who built it. Sarmizegetusa was the capital of the Dacians, a civilization that dominated large parts of southeastern Europe long before Roman rule reached these lands. To the Romans, the Dacians were dangerous, stubborn, difficult to control, not because they lacked resources or manpower, but because they possessed something Rome could not easily break: cohesion. At the center of that cohesion stood this city. Unlike most ancient capitals, Sarmizegetusa was not defined by a single palace or monumental structure. It was a complex system, terraces carved into the mountain, stone roads carefully laid, defensive walls following the natural contours of the land. Everything here worked together. Nothing was random. At the heart of the city lay its most enigmatic feature, the sacred zone, a collection of stone sanctuaries arranged with deliberate precision. Circular platforms, rectangular foundations, aligned structures that suggest calculation, not decoration. This was not architecture for beauty alone. It was architecture with purpose. For decades, historians described the Dacians as a tribal society with limited technical knowledge. But the stones of Sarmizegetusa tell a different story. Massive blocks of andesite were cut, transported, and shaped with remarkable accuracy. Their edges are clean, their surfaces smooth, their placement exact. This level of craftsmanship requires planning, coordination, and specialized knowledge. It requires time. And time is something unstable societies do not have. The layout of the sanctuaries raises even more questions. Their orientation appears to follow solar and astronomical patterns. Light and shadow interact with stone in predictable ways. Days matter, seasons matter, cycles matter. This suggests that Sarmizegetusa was not just a political center. It was a place where time itself was observed, measured, and ritualized. Why would a capital need this? Why would a civilization embed astronomy into its most sacred space? And what role did this knowledge play in maintaining power? For centuries, Sarmizegetusa stood beyond Roman control. Despite Rome's military dominance, repeated campaigns failed to fully subdue the Dacians. The mountains protected them. The terrain favored them, and their unity sustained them. But Rome does not tolerate defiance forever. In the early 2nd century, Emperor Trajan launched a massive campaign against Dacia. It was not a border conflict, it was a war of annihilation. Roman legions pushed deep into the mountains, dismantling fortress after fortress, until finally they reached the heart of resistance. They reached Sarmizegetusa. The city fell in the year 106. But what followed was not typical Roman behavior. Rome usually absorbed what it conquered. It rebuilt cities, converted temples, installed administration. Sarmizegetusa received none of this. Instead, it was destroyed. The sanctuaries were torn apart. The walls were burned. The infrastructure was deliberately dismantled. Archaeological evidence shows signs of systematic destruction, not chaotic looting. This was not revenge, it was policy. Rome did not want to rule from Sarmizegetusa, Rome wanted it gone. And that raises a disturbing question. What made this place so dangerous that it could not be allowed to survive? After the fall of the capital, the Dacian world changes abruptly. There is no replacement city. No continuation of the old political structure. No revival of the sacred center. The civilization dissolves into silence. Within a generation, the Dacians disappear from history as an independent force. Not slowly, suddenly. Civilizations do not vanish overnight without cause, especially not ones with organization, engineering skill, and spiritual structure. Something fundamental was removed. And that something was here. Today, Sarmizegetusa is quiet. The forest has reclaimed the terraces. Trees grow where rituals once took place. Moss covers stones that once carried meaning. But the atmosphere remains heavy. Visitors often describe a strange stillness, not peaceful, watchful. This is not the feeling of abandonment. It is the feeling of interruption, as if something was meant to continue and was forcibly stopped. Sarmizegetusa challenges the simplified version of ancient history. It suggests that complex societies existed outside the classical centers of Greece and Rome. Societies with their own systems of power, their own knowledge, their own understanding of the world. And sometimes those societies had to be erased for empires to stand unchallenged. What exactly did the Dacians know? What role did this capital truly play? And why does its destruction feel so intentional? Even 2,000 years later. Perhaps Sarmizegetusa was more than a city. Perhaps it was an idea. And ideas are far more dangerous than armies, because armies can be defeated. But ideas must be destroyed completely. Even now, as ruins, Sarmizegetusa refuses to disappear. It remains hidden but present, silent but unresolved. A reminder that history is not always written by those who were right, only by those who survived. If these stories matter to you, like the video and subscribe. More is coming.